South District.
Jersey City.
Yes, ma'am.
You're a police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been a police officer with the South District?
Since September 2017.
On March 24th, 2018, were you working the midnight shift in the South District?
Yes, ma'am.
By that date, you would have been on probation status, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What does that mean, being on probation status?
I have up to a year that pretty much they pretty much gauge about how I am, how good of a cop I will be, and if I will not meet their standards, I'm liable to be fired.
Do you recall what shift you were working on March 24th, 2018?
Midnight shift?
Were you working alone or with a partner?
Work with the partner, yes.
Do you recall the name of your partner?
Denzel Suitt, ma'am.
Yes. You were working with a partner, you indicated?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you recall your partner's name?
Denzel Suitt.
Prior to March 24th, 2018, had you and the defendant ever worked together as partners before?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he more senior to you?
Yes, ma'am.
On March 24th, 2018, when you were working midnight shift, were you and your partner, the defendant, in uniform or plainclothes?
We're in uniform, ma'am.
Were you working on foot or using a city-issued police department vehicle?
City issued police department vehicle.
Who was driving that night? You or your partner?
My partner.
Did there come a time when you and your partner took your city-issued vehicle into the area of Bayside Park?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that to conduct patrol?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you and your partner, or did the defendant stop the vehicle at a certain point in time on Bayside Terrace?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Bayside Terrace a dead-end street?
I do not recall at this time, but I'm assuming it isn't since you have to go later now that street.
I'm sorry.
It is dead. Well, actually, excuse me, it is a dead-end street. It isn't a one-way street.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a picture. This has been marked as it's been moved into evidence already. Do you recognize what's depicted in that picture?
This means the roundabout and the street where is in question.
Okay, and do you know the name of this street?
Bayside Terrace.
Okay, and is this the street that we're talking about right now?
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
Bayside Terrace, is it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
At approximately 12:53 in the morning, did you and your partner find yourselves on Bayside Terrace?
Yes, ma'am.
Your partner was driving, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When you went down Bayside Terrace with your partner, did you pull up to and approach a white four-door sedan?
Yes, ma'am.
Was the vehicle occupied by two middle-aged black men?
Yes, ma'am.
Where on Bayside Terrace were they parked?
They were parked in front of a fire hydrant on the right-hand side. We're going towards the dead end.
Was it just you and your partner, the defendant, out on Bayside Terrace that night?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of area is the South District?
That's high volume area, ma'am.
When you and your partner got to Bayside Terrace and approached the car, did you call out your location over there?
No, ma'am.
You notify any superior officer that you were there?
No, ma'am.
You notify any other officers that you were there?
No, ma'am.
Now, as a patrol officer, you're required to keep an event log, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't. Did you do an event log that night, generally?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what that is.
That's the patrol log for the night of 25th of March of 2018.
And whose patrol log is first, S12?
That's a patrol log of myself and the officer Suitt.
Okay. And who filled out that patrol log?
I do, ma'am.
Did you make any notes about stopping on Bayside Terrace on that log?
No, ma'am.
So you indicated that this is your handwriting, correct?
Correct, ma'am.
Okay. And how many entries did you mark on your event log for 3/25/18?
5, ma'am.
go through each one, please, and describe what the event was.
At 12 o'clock in the morning, we have roll call at the South District. GCO meeting's taken care of at 005 hours. At 0018 hours, we had to check the welfare at 110 Bethany. It was on arrival at 0028 hours. At 0036 hours, we were dispatched to a street racing call at Linden in 139. That was on arrival as well at 0011 hours. At 0552 hours, we had a dispute at 65 Danforth. They were sent on way at 0536 hours. Can't read what time is that, but I'm assuming it's 0632 hours. We had a motor vehicle accident at 170 Bergen. It was a file number 18006-678, and they finished the report at approximately 0700 hours.
So, again, did you make any entry about Bayside Terrace?
No.
Okay. The street racing on 139, is that on the way to Bayonne, in between Bayonne and Jersey City?
Yes, ma'am.
How far is Bayside Terrace from 139?
To the other side of the city, south of,
It's on the other side of the city?
on the south side. It's the road that takes you over 440. So Bayside Terrace would be a little bit more north,
Right.
and this would be south. That's towards the end of this Jersey City line.
And so at that time of night, by car, how long would it take you to get to Bayside Terrace?
No traffic, I would say 5-10 minutes at most.
On April 25th, 2018, did you come to the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office and meet with members of the Internal Affairs Unit?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you interviewed about your knowledge with respect to the incident that we're talking about, which took place on Bayside Terrace?
Yes, ma'am.
During that interview, were you eventually given immunity?
Yes, ma'am.
Meaning that in exchange for truthful statements about what happened that night, you wouldn't be charged with a crime?
That's correct. This document is under a being process, a being question on an ongoing criminal investigation conducted by the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office and Jersey Police Department.
And there are a couple of signatures on there. Whose signatures are on there?
My signature is on top. Oh, no, Assistant Prosecutor authorizing is on top. Under it, following the date and the time that I was there and the location.
And it was witness, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. S56, what's S56?
It's a advice of rights regarding the waiver.
Okay. And how do you know what this is?
It says it up here in the title of the letter of the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office.
Okay, and whose initials are up there?
My initials, ma'am.
Did you put your initials there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this is advising you of your Fifth Amendment rights, correct?
Correct, ma'am.
Okay. And you didn't sign it, correct? That's not your signature.
No, ma'am.
You printed your name, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell us again what S40 is.
It's the use of the community grant advisement form. It's being questioned as part of the ongoing criminal investigation conducted by the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office and the Jersey City Police Department. And it's pretty much saying I'm being granted community as long as I'm telling the truth and I'm not lying.
Great. And that was explained to you, and you got a chance to read it over, correct?
Correct, ma'am.
After you executed those documents, S56 and S40, did you provide a sworn statement to the detectives?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was recorded, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Today you're here under a state subpoena, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
As part of the cooperation agreement, you're expected to testify to what actually happened on the night of March 24th, 2018, correct?
Yes, ma'am. The transcript of what transpired that day when I was pulled up to the prosecutor's office.
Does it contain what you told the prosecutor's office, the detectives under oath?
Yes, ma'am.
In your statement, when you were being interviewed, were you asked to describe what you observed when you first saw the white car on the inside terrace?
Objection. Overruled, that's what was asked. We can't apply that.
Do you remember being asked about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you remember what your answer was? Yes or no? Is it yes or no?
Just if you remember what you mentioned, yes.
At the moment, no, I have to refresh myself with the paperwork.
On that refresh your recollection as to what your observations were when you first approached the white vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
What were your observations?
We saw two occupants inside of there with articles of clothing, as if he was moving. I think at some point he did tell me that he was moving out of the city. I saw a beer can in the floor and a couple of bottles of liquor in there as well. And that's when I approached the passenger side of the vehicle.
After making those observations, did you think that they were homeless?
I thought he was moving, in the process of moving out, as he told me.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to turn to page 14. Did you indicate that you thought that they were homeless?
Indicated I thought they were moving out, or as if they were homeless, but I couldn't tell at that time.
So moving out or homeless, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
To the best of your recollection, was the driver asked to turn over license, registration, and insurance?
Can I refresh my memory with the transcripts?
If you think it'll help, sure.
Yes. He was asked to give the information, the license, registration, insurance card.
And who asked him for that?
P.O. Suitt,
Where were you when he asked him that?
passenger side.
Do you know whether or not that driver turned over a driver's license?
Can you refresh back to the transcripts from the recollection?
Sure.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Do you know whether or not the driver was ever able to produce a valid driver's license?
Yes, they did show us the information, the driver license, registration, and insurance card.
Were you asked about that by the detectives in my office?
I was asked whether I let them go afterwards, and that's when I replied that after they showed us the actual information.
Do you recall if the driver showed you, your partner, or both of you the license you just indicated?
This time I don't really recall, but I'm going to assume.
Don't assume.
I
Don't
don't
assume.
recall at all.
Okay. At a certain point in time, did the defendant order the driver out of the car?
He did ask the driver to get out, if I'm not mistaken.
When the driver was asked to get out of the car, do you recall, was he unruly or combative?
I don't recall the situation. I mean, at this moment.
Record should reflect the witness's refreshing his recollection after each question.
You know what? Thank you, Judge. If you need this, just let me know, and I'll hand it back to you, okay? Do you have any independent recollection about the driver's demeanor that night? Do you have any independent recollection as to whether or not the driver complied with the defendant's request to get out of his car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he comply with your partner's request?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know why the defendant asked the driver to get out of the car?
I have no recollection of that, ma'am.
I don't
Can I
understand your
refer back to the
Yes.
transcripts? So,
Oh. Sure. Does that help at all, or no?
everything else here, I remember that we did frisk him for if he had any weapons.
Okay, so I'm gonna get to that. Do you recall why your partner asked the driver to get out of the vehicle?
No, ma'am.
You just mentioned that you told the detectives that your partner frisked the driver.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you frisk the driver?
At first, passenger, not the
So you
driver.
did not frisk the driver.
No, ma'am.
Do you know why your partner frisked the driver?
It's a search if he had any weapons.
Was that before or after the driver turned over the license, if you recall?
I do not recall, ma'am.
Do you recall actually seeing your partner frisk the driver? Is that something you actually remember?
No, ma'am.
You don't remember that?
No, ma'am.
While your partner, the defendant, is dealing with the driver, do you recall where you were positioned?
Yes, ma'am.
Where?
Passenger side window, talking with the passenger.
Do you have any independent recollection about the demeanor of the passenger?
No, ma'am. No. For the most part, we just having a conversation together. It wasn't, I don't know how to say it, but he wasn't aggressive, he was complying, he was just having a conversation with the passenger.
He was talking to the passenger?
No, I was talking with the passenger while I was at the passenger side window.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay. Did you ask him at any time for identification or license? If you recall.
No, I don't recall.
Did there come a point in time when you asked him to step out of the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you ask him to step out of the car?
I don't recall this time.
Do you recall whether or not you patted him down?
Yes, ma'am.
You recall that you patted him down.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you pat him down?
Searching for any weapons as well.
When you patted him down, where was your partner?
Partner was at the driver's side of the vehicle.
Where was the driver?
I don't recall where he was at that time, but should have been sitting down.
I don't want you to guess, and I don't want you to assume. If you don't know the answer to my question, say I don't know, or I don't recall. Just, I don't want you to guess.
I don't
okay?
recall.
You don't recall where the driver was when you had the passenger out of the car. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
You recall where your partner was when you were patting down the passenger.
He's at the driver's side.
Passenger provides you with an identification or license.
I don't recall this time.
Your statement in front of you, direct your attention to page 16, line 4, for fresh recollection.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he provide you with a license or an identification?
Identification only.
Did there come a point in time where either of the men were asked to place their hands on the car when they were outside of the vehicle?
Can I refer back to my notes to refresh my memory?
Yes. Okay. Does that help refresh your recollection?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ask the passenger and was the driver, did the passenger and or the driver place their hands on the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that standard?
No, ma'am.
Did you ask the passenger to empty his pockets and whatnot when he got out of the car?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to direct your attention to the same page, page 17, starting at line 12. Just look that over. Does it help refresh your recollection?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ask the passenger to empty his pockets?
No, you just place it there.
He did it on his own?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall where he put the stuff from his pockets?
On top of the hood on the passenger side
On top of the hood?
of the roof of the car.
The roof?
Yes.
Okay, so not the hood.
No, the roof of the car, ma'am.
Is that standard?
No, ma'am.
What is standard when you're asking somebody to take the stuff out of their pockets?
Normally, we just, if you, after searching to the rest, you take off the stuff and you just search it out. You search, you see yourself physically, and you take it out from his pockets manually.
And these men were not under arrest.
Negative.
At any point in time, do you recall seeing the driver's property on top of the roof of the car?
I don't recall this time.
At any time, did you see your partner, the defendant, remove anything from the roof of the car?
Not this time, ma'am.
Not at this time, you don't remember, or you
I don't
don't?
remember and I don't recall.
You don't remember and you don't recall. I'm going to direct your attention to page 22, line 5 of your statement. All set?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did the interviewing sergeant ask you whether or not the defendant, Denzel Suitt, removed anything from the roof of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Today, when I asked you that question, you just indicated you don't recall, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you answer differently when Sergeant Signorelli asked you that question?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you answer?
I answered that he moved stuff around, but I never saw him put anything in his pocket, and he did search the vehicle.
Whose job was it to complete the event log that night?
Mine, ma'am.
You were still on probation, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't complete the event log.
No, ma'am.
You're required to fill out an event log, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, earlier, did you indicate that you saw open alcohol containers in his white car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you dump out the alcohol you saw in the car?
I don't recall, ma'am.
Did you or your partner issue any tickets for open containers in the car?
No, ma'am.
You were on probation, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall whether or not the driver had parked in front of a fire hydrant?
Yes, ma'am.
You do recall?
Yes, ma'am.
Had he parked in front of a fire hydrant?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a violation, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you issue a ticket for that?
No, ma'am.
Did your partner?
No, ma'am.
Did your partner ever double check to see if you had done the event log or radioed anything out over the air?
No, ma'am.
If you were on probation on the night of March 24th, 2018 to the 25th. Would it have been prudent or wise, to have done or completed those requirements?
Yes, ma'am.
You were shown that form on this Hammer earlier, right?
That's correct.
You looked at that, you signed that back in April of 2018, right?
Correct.
Safe to say you don't really want to be here, right?
Keep that comment to myself.
Okay, fair enough. Your understanding of that agreement is basically, the only way you can get charged with something is if you come up here and lie, right?
That's correct.
So you have, it's fair to say, you have pretty good incentive to come up here and tell the truth.
Sir.
You didn't see Denzel take anything from those two guys that night, right?
Sir.
You didn't take anything, did you?
No, sir.
Did he talk to you about taking something that night?
No, sir.
You had worked with Denzel before that, right?
No, sir.
And you worked with him after that?
I don't recall I did afterwards.
You don't recall afterwards? About how often did you, or how many times? I'm just asking for an estimate. I'm not trying to catch you in a firm number or anything.
I can't tell you what number. I don't know.
Okay. But you had worked with him on more than one occasion?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Mr. Crowder asked you a number of times about being on probation. When you're a probationary officer here in Jersey City, when you start on the job, you have what's called an FTO or a field training officer, right?
Correct.
And that's somebody that you go with when you're first on the job, and correct me if I'm wrong. And they're supposed to teach you the ins and outs of what you do in a patrol car or whatever your duty is for that day, right?
A lot of enough time to give us correct, yes.
Okay. And who was your field training officer?
Pete Cardella?
Wasn't Denzel Suitt.
No, sir.
He was just, when you say he was your superior officer, you just mean he was on the job.
No, sir, correct.
Okay. Now, you were also asked about those call logs. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
And it was shown to you. Now, at least when you worked with Denzel, would you agree with me if I said that it was the passenger's responsibility that night to fill it out?
Yes.
Solely the passenger's responsibility,
So
right?
unwritten rule, yes.
Unwritten rule, but I'm just asking when you worked with Denzel.
Yeah.
And we've already established that on March 25th, 24th into the 25th, that you're the one who filled out that log.
That's correct.
That's your handwriting.
That's correct.
So what I can't read, I can blame you for.
Yes, sir.
All right. And as you said earlier, you filled that out, and Denzel had no input into that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the fact that what we've talked about here with the prosecutor, that it's not on there, is because you didn't put it on
Yes, sir.
there. Okay. Is it also fair to say, and you can refer to the transcript if you'd like, you remember going to the prosecutor's office back in April of 2018
Yes, sir.
and speaking to them?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree with me if I said to you that it took a while for you to even remember this stuff,
Yes, sir.
right? You talked to them about another stop of, I think it was a burgundy or a red car, that you seem to have some pretty good recollection about a month later, right? You have to answer, I see you nodding your head.
Yes.
I apologize.
Yes.
The record won't pick up you nodding your head. But it's fair to say that the prosecutor, or whoever, the detective in that office, kind of had to spur you along a little bit to even remember the stop of the white car.
That's correct.
And you would agree with me that all of the citations you could have issued, whether it's open alcohol or whatever else, you just decided to cut these guys a break, right?
Yes, sir.
And that was because, as you said earlier, they were either moving or homeless, right?
It was my call to write the tickets, but I can't really answer that question.
Okay. Now, when you talked earlier about that interaction, you said that when Denzel was speaking with the driver, you were on the passenger side of the car, correct?
That's correct.
So is it fair to say that as Denzel's talking to the driver, and just for the record, I'm going to say the car's in between us, if I'm Denzel, you're on the passenger side, were you looking right at him across the car?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
It's focusing on the passenger.
Focusing on the passenger. But he's on the other side of the car from you, correct?
Correct.
You don't recollect at any point he walked away from the car, right?
No, sir, not recollect.
Okay. Did you have any interaction with the driver whatsoever?
I have no recollection of that either.
No recollection, okay. Now, you do recollect, at least yourself, you remember patting down the passenger, correct?
After reading the transcript, correct?
Okay, after you read the transcript. You didn't as you sat here. Yes.
Correct.
You only know that because that's what you said back in April, so you're assuming, or you're saying that if that was your recollection then, But you don't know now? Okay. Now, you did say, though, that from reviewing the transcript, that you had him down for a search for weapons, correct? Frisk? Okay. And that's for your safety, correct?
Correct.
You didn't find any weapons, correct? Had you found weapons, this might have taken a different direction. Would you agree?
Yes.
Do you recall independently seeing Denzel frisk or pat down the driver?
Gotta look at the transcript to refresh my memory.
Well, I know you already did that. I'm asking if you remember today. As you sit here today, do you have any real recollection of this event other than what from what you're reviewing here?
I have some recollection of the event, but to be completely concrete and testify in court, I'm gonna have to review the transcripts so I can correct.
Okay, then I'll take it step by step. So, do you have any independent recollection of Denzel frisking or patting down the driver?
No.
Does anything, as you sit here today, in your independent recollection, anything point to that interaction between Denzel and that driver?
Can you rephrase that question?
Sure. Anything out of the ordinary that you remember as you sit here today of that interaction between Denzel and the driver?
No.
Now, earlier you testified from reviewing your the transcript that you had said at some point that the driver was asked out of the vehicle.
Sure.
Do you remember him being asked out?
Right now, no.
And we know that from your review, the passenger volunteered to start taking things out of his pocket and things like that, correct?
Correct.
Is it possible that the driver offered himself out of the vehicle to speak to Denzel? Do you have any independent recollection of that? Now, do you remember do you remember the car being loaded with things in the back?
Yes, sir.
And that was part of your conversation about either moving out or being homeless, correct?
Correct.
And Ms. Crownhammer asked you a number of questions and had you look at the transcript about moving stuff around. You remember that?
Yes.
If I were to tell you that moving stuff around was in reference to the stuff in the car, would you have any independent recollection of that?
Doesn't have last, but it's him moving, just adding stuff, doesn't car, clothing, and all articles.
Yes.
Correct, yes.
You remember him moving that around.
Yes.
So when Ms. Crownhammer asked you about moving some of the things around, that's what you were talking about, correct?
Correct.
You don't have any independent recollection of him moving around the items that were on the driver, do you?
I don't remember.
Judge, I have no additional questions. Thank you very much.
The last question was whether you have any independent recollection of the defendant moving things around that belong to the driver, correct?
Correct.
And you just answered what?
I don't remember.
Pete Cardella was your training officer, correct? Do you know why you as a junior officer would be partnered up with a senior officer for a midnight tour?
Safety concern.
Would you say you've had other senior partners in your career with Jersey City?
Yes, ma'am.
In your time with Jersey City, working with senior officers, have you ever asked them what to do if you were unsure about something job related, like while you're on the job?
At the moment, yes, if I was unsure of something, I would ask them, and they would advise me to their knowledge.
Okay. Were you unsure about filling out the event log?
Negative. I was not unsure.
Okay. Were you confused about the event log?
No.
You indicated that to the best of your recollection, you gave these two men on Bayside Terrace, you cut them a break, correct?
Correct.
Is that something you were trained to do at the academy?
No. Well, as far as discretion, yes, but trained to give everything a break, no.
Okay, I'm not really sure I understand your answer. Maybe it's probably my question. So, earlier you testified about the observations you made when you approached the white car, correct?
Correct.
You indicated that there were several violations. With respect to those violations, were you trained at the academy to give breaks in that kind of a situation?
No.
You also indicated that that night it wasn't your call whether or not to issue these men tickets, correct?
Correct.
Whose call was it?
Senior officer.
Who was the senior officer?
P.O. Suitt.
Was that a discussion, if you recall, if you have independent recollection, was that a discussion that was had between the two of you?
No.
I have no further questions. You said you were taught discretion, correct? At the academy, you weren't taught to just forget about things, but as you use the word discretion, right?
Correct.
Do you agree with me that there's, that night, March 25th, other nights that you work in the South District, bigger problems going on than this, right?
A lot of big problems in there, correct, yeah.
And would you agree with me that that night, as you testified, you use your discretion? No additional questions.
Just one follow-up. You went through your deadlock, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you testified as to each of these 5 entries, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the time that these occurred are also listed by you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How long is the midnight tour? How many hours?
8 hours.
And in 8 hours, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 events, correct?
Correct.
Was there a lot going on for you in the South District that night?
No, ma'am.
I have no further questions.